Well, this is still the Citi Newsroom coming to you from the Supreme Court, where a 5-member panel is expected to pronounce a judgment on the case brought before it by the state, challenging the jurisdiction of the Hohoe Court and placing an interim injunction on the gazetting and, of course, swearing in of Member of Parliament-elect for the Hohoe constituency, John Peter Amewu. We've seen the Deputy Attorney General, Godfrey Dame, make his way into the court, and of course counsel for the interested parties, lawyer Chachu Chikata, also make his way into the court. It is expected that the court will pronounce a judgment, and so we are here to bring you details of that particular judgment and of course speak to the various parties that make the state represented by the Attorney General, and of course the interested parties represented by lawyer Chachu Chikata. The reading of the judgment is done. Both lawyers as well as the interested parties are coming out of the courtroom now, and so we're going to attempt to speak to some of them, pick their thoughts on the ruling, what they make of it, and of course gauge their level of satisfaction or disappointment. The state was represented by Deputy Attorney General Godfrey Dame, who is actually making his way out of the courtroom now. And so let's engage him and pick his thoughts on what transpired in court.
Substantially, it resolved the issues, and indeed we are very grateful to the court. We're happy that justice has been served. Right from the outset, our contention was that the action filed at the High Court, who was incompetent, was totally out of order, because you cannot seek election petition reliefs in a human rights action. And today the court has held to the same effect, that was unjustified for them to have commenced an election petition and characterize him as a human rights action. So we're very grateful. And I think that it's also important for me to place on record certain misconceptions and misperceptions that have been made about the intervention of the Attorney General in this matter. And that is clearly because the Attorney General was sued. The Attorney General was a party to the High Court proceedings at Hohoe. And if you are party to proceedings, you reserve the right to take any action at all that you think is available to you at law. And that is what the Attorney General did. We commenced an action here at the Supreme Court seeking to quash what went on at the High Court because it was not according to law, and it was granted by the court. Well, so our contention was that the matter was in the nature of a parliamentary election petition, and to that extent, the orders of the court dated 23rd December ought to be struck out. The court granted an order of certiorari quashing the entire proceedings of the court on 23rd December 2020. So we're satisfied wholly with that one. Then the second relief for prohibition. The court granted same to the extent that it struck out the reliefs that were in the nature of an election petition sought against John Peter Amewu to restrain him from being gazetted, to restrain him from being put before Parliament for swearing in and all. That have been totally struck out by the court. And that's essentially what we thought would be justice in the circumstances. We are happy and very much satisfied with the orders made by the court today.
What happens to the people?
I think that justice has been fully served. As I indicated, yes, as I indicated, I think that the Boehm issue, for me, is a simple and straightforward one. The court today has upheld the validity of CI 128. The court had indicated that clearly CI 128 was constitutional, and the interested parties led by Chachu Chikata had failed to produce any evidence whatsoever impeaching the validity of CI 128. So, as far as I'm concerned, to the extent that CI 128 had placed the people of Central Kofi, Akpafu, Likpe, and Lolobi under Boehm, it resolves the issue. I think the consequence to all of this is that the Boehm election, if you ask me, yes, for me, was improperly conducted to the extent that it excluded the people of Central Kofi, Akpafu, Lolobi, and Likpe. So I think that the proper thing to do is for the Electoral Commission to perhaps look at that issue and take due steps that will warrant a conduct of the Boehm election again. That's the most important thing. Of course, I'm also aware of the pendency of a suit filed by certain people seeking to have the Boehm election annulled for a fresh election to be conducted. I think that issue will be dealt with by the High Court. And indeed, the court today, when it was preserving the part relating to human rights, to be continued at the High Court too.
We can now speak to the campaign manager of the New Patriotic Party, Peter McMahon, who was also in the courtroom.
Oh, I'm highly delighted. I'm happy that basically the suit has been thrown out. The rulings at Hohoe has been expunged, and now Honorable Amewu is free to be sworn in, and he's free. He's now a fully MP elect for Hohoe. But like I'm saying, I just also had another message on my phone that another suit against Martin J. Mensah has also been thrown out in Wenchi. So MPP is marching on.
Right. But then what happens to your suit on the Buem constituency?
Oh, it's on. We are looking for Kofi Adams to serve him. We are looking because it's coming on tomorrow at the Hohoe High Court. So we are looking for Kofi Adams to serve him. We are not doing ex parte on notice. So they are looking for him to serve him. So tomorrow we'll meet him at Hohoe Court.
Now, one person who has really shown interest in this particular matter, the issue of the SALL enclave, is President of Imani Africa, Franklin Kujo. Now, he was also in court to witness or observe the proceedings, and so we'd like to pick his thoughts on the judgment that has come from the 5-member panel in the Supreme Court.
I think that was profound. So for me, the issues about SALL still stand. They themselves admitted it, and that there are still unanswered questions that ought to be answered. So, well, you can only disagree and then say that the remaining matters must be pursued. So that's all I've got to say.
And then by remaining matters, what happens to the conduct, or what do you make of the conduct of the election, one in Buem and of course that in Hohoe, following the judgment that has come today?
I don't know whether the judgment suggested that there will be any elections, which means that the issues of SALL still remain unresolved. I don't think they resolved the issue. I don't think they did. They only suggested that the Hohoe candidate they felt was duly elected, and that had nothing to do with the matters of SALL. I don't think they took into consideration the conduct of the EC. And so for me, I think that is where the other issues really lie. But they are trying to suggest that Amewu had done nothing wrong. And nobody really was saying Amewu had done anything wrong. We are saying that the processes leading to his election were fraught with a lot of challenges, which challenges they themselves shied away from talking about. So it means that the issues still stand, and I think they need to be pursued.
My colleague Sixtus Dong Ulo was inside the courtroom, and he joins us with details of what transpired in court today. Sixtus, welcome to the Citi Newsroom.
Thank you, Nana.
Basically, what went on in there?
The important takeaway from today's proceedings would be that John Peter Amewu, whose election had been injuncted upon, number one, the Electoral Commission had been injuncted from gazetting his election as Member of Parliament. Number two, that he himself was not supposed to hold himself out as Member of Parliament elect for Hohoe. That has been declared by the Supreme Court to be null and void. The interesting thing is that as of the time the court was delivering this particular decision, the interim order, which was a 10-day, was supposed to last for 10 days, had already elapsed. But the court determined that the order had not been properly made by the trial court, which is the High Court Hohoe. Again, it means that going forward, Mr. Amewu can be sworn in as a Member of Parliament for Hohoe. Going forward, the High Court Hohoe can proceed to hear the concerns of the residents of the SALL area who took up this matter at the very beginning, but only determining the rights of those individuals to vote as a fundamental human right. But they are not going to determine the matters that otherwise John Peter Amewu would have been responding to as per the suit that was originally filed at the Hohoe Court.
Thank you very much, Sixtus Dong Ulo, my colleague who was or sat through the proceedings at the Supreme Court, bringing us details of exactly what transpired in the courtroom earlier on.